record. So this is in the pages. You can find this WebDriver introduction and architecture. Okay. So this is the first. Okay, you will get that link. Everything key report. You have a lot of info here. Whatever we discussed yesterday, everything you will get in this page only. So refer this because please understand the architecture because they will ask, no, okay, what is the difference between 3 and 4? They will ask Selenium 3 and Selenium 4. So if you understand the architectural changes, then you can talk. Otherwise, we cannot talk. Okay. So please go through that and also what are the new features in the Selenium 4 that will help you a lot. Okay. So we have we were discussing on the implementation, right? The Selenium 3, Selenium 4 implementation. This is the where we, we were, ended up yesterday. So Selenium 4 implementation is again same, but extra you are getting a Chromium driver is the one class is the parent for Chrome driver and Edge driver. So, and then it is so extending it to remote web driver. So this is the multi-level inheritance. See, multiple levels this Chrome driver can get Chromium driver methods, remote web driver methods without implementing them here. So that's the multi-level inheritance. Even Edge driver also following multi-level inheritance. You can explain these concepts. So can you give me these OOPS concepts where you have used? And you can tell all this. You see abstraction. This is the abstraction process, right? Interface. And see interface extends to another interface. And interface is implementing in the remote WebDriver class already existing. You can tell that. So this is the all, if you understand this architectural design, you can explain properly. And so this is the how you can clearly go through this. It really helps you a lot. So we were discussing this part is done and also this. So why we cannot create an object for a WebDriver? So because WebDriver is an interface. Interface is going to have all abstract methods. So these abstract methods are not implemented. Without definition, you cannot use them. That's why any abstraction process, you are not allowed to create a object. Object means already a new keyword including that, that's object, but this is wrong. So this is the kind of tricky questions they will ask. So they will test you on basics of Java. See, if you tell wrong, they'll think that you don't know the basics of Java. So that's why you should not miss these concepts. So be careful while answering all this. And also next question. When we write a first line of code in Selenium, this is the first line you will write. Interface, reference variable equal to new, implementing class. That's what I told in the Java. This is the syntax. Same we are following. So any interface variable that should point to the implemented class objects, not for the same WebDriver. So it is pointing to the instance of classes. So any instance, it can be a browser, any browser instance. Why you need to declare WebDriver driver equal to new Firefox driver, new Chrome driver like that? In the left side, why you are declaring that? Any instance that is implemented this WebDriver can create object and point to your variable, WebDriver variable. So that's what I given. This is a question asked in the interviews. So what is the meaning of the code line WebDriver driver means? What is meaning of that? Your bigger companies, they're asking to test your knowledge on the Java. These are all Java concepts, not Selenium concepts. See, I have given very clear instructions here. So let's see. In the statement of WebDriver driver equal to new Chrome driver, the purpose of driver is to serve as a reference variable that holds the instance of this object. The instance of Chrome driver class, it is holding, right? So this instance, it is holding here. So that's the main purpose of driver variable. So you can tell driver is a reference variable which is of type WebDriver interface, which is pointing to and which is holding the instance of a Chrome driver class or Firefox driver class or some other class which implemented the WebDriver interface. So that is what this meaning, and lot of meaning is there in this line. You will write a first line in Selenium code. So make sure you understand this entire each word I explained in Java, these points. And also if you still have a doubts, let me know. So what is WebDriver here? Let's go deep dive. This is an interface in Selenium WebDriver library. WebDriver is an interface. So it defines a set of methods for interacting with the different web browsers. So WebDriver is, so it's implemented by various driver classes. So what are the driver classes? Every browser has one driver class, right? Every browser has one driver class. Chrome browser has a Chrome driver class. Firefox, Firefox driver. Edge, Edge driver. Safari, Safari driver. Opera, Opera driver. So like that, you have a driver classes for every browser. So why this WebDriver is declared an interface means because the common methods are there and that are going to be implemented in the Chrome driver for Chrome, Firefox driver for Firefox, like that. So each corresponding to a different browsers. So it is implemented by various driver classes. This is what you need to tell. So WebDriver is an interface which is implemented by various driver classes, each corresponding to the different browser. So what is a driver? So see, point by point, I'm coming word by word. This is a reference variable of type WebDriver interface. By declaring driver as a WebDriver, you ensure that it can hold any object that implements the WebDriver interface. So providing flexibility to switch between different browsers by simply changing the object. So which class you create object, automatically, easily you can switch. You don't need to change again every time, right? So that's the advantage of so declaring a driver as a reference variable of type WebDriver interface. New Chrome driver, this is the instantiation of Chrome browser driver class. So which is the implementation of WebDriver interface specific to Chrome browser. When you create a new Chrome driver instance, it launches the new Chrome browser that you can control through your driver variable. All the driver reference variable you will use to call all the methods. So that is the driver means. This is the lot of interviews I have faced this. So they will ask what is mean by WebDriver driver. Why you have to declare WebDriver your driver variable? Why you are declaring? So right hand side, new Chrome driver, new Firefox driver. So all the answers is this one you have to explain. So the purpose of driver is, so the driver variable is used to control the browser. Which browser you want to control, easily can control. That's the main purpose of driver. You can use it to navigate to the web pages. That's a one advantage. Find HTML web elements, interact with the web page elements, like doing actions on the web page elements, execute JavaScript code, retrieve information about the web page. All these actions you can do with this driver variable. That's a first purpose. The second purpose, flexibility. By using WebDriver interface type for the driver variable, see that why you have to declare a driver type as a WebDriver interface. If they ask you, you tell that all these points. So you can easily switch to different browsers by changing only instantiation part. Only you change. If it is a Chrome, you create a new Chrome driver object. If it is a Firefox, new Firefox driver. If it is a Safari, new Safari driver. If it is Edge, new Edge driver. Like that, you can create and more flexibility. Easily, you can switch to any instance of the browser. So that's another flexibility you have. So with a driver variable. Browser control. The driver variable provides methods to control the browser. So easily you can control the browser. Make it possible to automate web interactions of the web elements. You can do different actions on the web elements. Resource management. So it is important to properly manage the browser instance by closing it properly. At the end, you can close the browser by driver.close or driver.fit to free up the spaces. That's the purpose of this. So I included this wantedly in detail because I have faced this interview question almost 3-4 times in 3-4 interviews. So understand that how much important this is to understand. And also you can see you're overriding all the methods of WebDriver. You're overriding. See, this is the method overriding concept or runtime polymorphism concept here. So that you can tell this line is following runtime polymorphism concept. Okay, so these are all the OOPS concepts I'm giving. You have abstraction, you have inheritance, you have runtime polymorphism. So many OOPS concepts are there in this by just understanding that concept. Okay. Now, what is the super interface of WebDriver? Search context. I have already shown in the diagram. So Selenium 4 architecture is, see, all the client libraries. So language wise, client libraries will be there. That's the one component. Second, browser driver classes. That's the server, HTTP server, and the real browsers. Real browser inside, you have a browser driver class. So your client libraries means the methods you are going to send to the server first, and the server will interact with the browser. So that's a Selenium 4 architecture. As I mentioned, so Selenium 3, you have a JSON wire protocol. Now here they removed that and they used the browser concept itself. That is a W3C consortium, World Wide Web Consortium concept they have used. Instead of making delay one more conversion when the command comes and converting to JSON, right? That is Selenium 3 concept. Now Selenium 4 concept, they deleted that also because they don't want that delay also. Direct interaction should happen. So that's what they always try to improve the process in Selenium. Okay, so that's the Selenium client libraries, WebDriver language bindings, browser drivers, all will be there in the Selenium. Okay, Selenium 4 architecture. So what is the difference between Selenium 3 and Selenium 4? So Selenium 3, a Chrome driver extends directly to the remote web driver. In Selenium 4, Chrome driver class extends Chromium driver. So we have seen that, right? So that's what. So that's a one example you can give that because unique differences are there. In Selenium 3, JSON wire protocol was the major mode of communication between the test code and browser. So in Selenium 4, uses the WebDriver W3C protocol as it has a W3C compliance. So the another unique difference. So in difficult task, a difficult task in Selenium 3 was the testers were always to start the hub and node jars each time to perform the automation testing in case of Selenium grid. But in Selenium 4, you no need to start separately, all packed in one jar file. And one time you start, both hub and node will be started at the same time. So that is the Selenium 3 and 4 advantages and disadvantages. Okay. So the differences, you can just tell 3 and 4 differences if they ask you. Another major interview question is, what are the challenges you faced during your automation testing using Selenium? So what are the challenges you have faced? So during your automation testing using Selenium. So one is pop-up windows. Okay, pop-up windows. So basically, you will get a pop-up windows, right? Like alerts, like web dialogues. So alert dialogues are different, web dialogues are different. Both are different. So alert dialogues are designed by JavaScript code. Web dialogues are designed by HTML code. There is a lot of differences. Please understand between these two. So if you get alerts, you have to handle them properly with a alert function. So alert function, you have to use a driver dot switch to method dot alert function you have to use. Then you have to use a dismiss and accept methods you have to use. So the main thing is, so the pop-ups when you receive during your automation testing, and so then your test case will fail. So in order to handle that, so the JavaScript alerts, you have to use a alert function to switch to them and then accept them or dismiss them. That's a one option. So if you get a web pop-ups means you cannot use alert function. You have to use a window function. You have to get all the window IDs and you have to switch to particular window, and you can close that after action and you can switch back to parent window. So that's the another window method you have to use to handle that to web pop-ups. So that's the one, handling the alerts and web pop-ups, bit difficult in Selenium automation. So one of the challenge. So you have to, second challenge is identifying the dynamic elements. So you have to identify the dynamic elements. Elements are dynamically changing, and every time dynamically changes means your object identification will fail. Then automatically test case will fail. Then how can we handle that? So you have to write a dynamic mechanism to handle the dynamic elements using XPath and CSS selectors you have to use. These are the locators you have to use, XPath and CSS selector you have to use to identify the dynamically changing elements. We have a concepts like contains, starts with, ends with, access XPaths you can use to identify the dynamically changing elements. So, and another one is, see, there is a problem I'm giving and solution I'm giving. You have to give, that's a challenge, okay? You got a challenge. How can you solve it? What is the challenge first? First, you have to explain the challenge. Then how did you solve it? That's what you need to do. So the challenge, you tell that identifying the dynamic elements. The element IDs, names, and values are changing in HTML pages, and then your test script will fail. To handle that, we have to create a proper object identification mechanism using XPath and CSS selector. So we have a concept called contains, so starts with, ends with functions, and you can use them to handle any dynamically changing elements. So that's the answer you have to give. So then a synchronization issue, timeout or synchronization issues. So most of your test cases will fail due to synchronization issues. So most of your issues will fail due to synchronization. Synchronization means the sync between page and the WebDriver is not matching. Then your test case will fail. So synchronization means the page is loading slowly and WebDriver is running very fast. By the time WebDriver looking, the element is not available in the web page. That's why WebDriver complains, I couldn't find this element. Then you have to tell, okay, WebDriver, wait until my element loads in the web page. So that sync issue, you will get it because of so many reasons, right? Maybe there's some performance issue in your web application, or So network latency or different reasons will be there. So how can we handle this situation? The synchronization issue comes. So in order to handle this synchronization issues or timeout issues in the Selenium automation, so Selenium is providing wait concepts, synchronization concept. Synchronization means, so you can ask us WebDriver, wait until the page title appears, until the element present, until the element is visible, until this element is clickable state. So all these conditions, so many conditions are there, that conditions you can use to handle them with a wait commands. 1 minute. So to handle that, so WebDriver synchronization issues, you have to use a WebDriver wait commands. There are 3 types of wait commands. We'll discuss in detail, but just understand that, just give the answer for this. How to handle synchronization issues in Selenium means, so WebDriver provides wait commands. One is implicit wait, explicit wait, fluent wait. So these are the 3 wait commands you can use for handling the synchronization issues. That's a third challenge. And fourth challenge, so cross-browser testing. So you are running your test cases on different browser and operating system combination, right? So different browser and operating system combination you are running. So while running on different browsers and operating system, so your test cases will fail. One browser it will work, another browser it may not work. Then how can we handle that? So in order to check that, you have to use a proper object identification and analyze the results properly, and then which browser it is failing, that browser you change the locator strategy and check. So this locator strategy is not working in one browser, other browser it is working. Try to use other locator and try with that other locator concept CSS or XPath. So try different locator concepts and then you can solve this. Locally, you run multiple times to make sure it is working properly locally. Then you can merge the code in the GitHub. So that's the cross-browser testing issues you can solve. Testing of mobile applications. So you don't have a direct provision to test the mobile applications in Selenium. So, but you can use Appium tool that is similar to WebDriver. Appium uses the WebDriver protocol to drive native and hybrid iOS and Android mobile applications. So Appium tool uses the same WebDriver protocol. So methods are everything same. So that's why you have to, you can handle mobile application testing with a WebDriver protocol concept, that is Appium tool. So Appium is another open source tool, which is developed by based on the WebDriver concept only. So page loading issues. So as we already discussed the synchronization issues, right? So it's a kind of similar. So sometimes your web pages are takes some more time to load, or it depends on some other no dependency is there, and then it might take some time to load the pages. So such cases, maybe if you have a drop down, and that drop down, first you select one drop down and remain based on the top selection, remaining drop down options will display. So like, a country, if you select the country, all states, if it has to display, based on the country only, first it will display the states. So that means after selecting the country, you have to wait until completely loads all the state options. So that wait time you have to give, so that you can wait using explicit wait command. That please loading issues you can handle with the explicit wait command. Scalability. Next challenge is scalability. Scalability means, so you have to run your automation test cases on all the browsers and operating systems. So how can we do that? Right? This is the limitation of no test cases. You cannot run more test cases on the same machine. So how can we do that? So in order to achieve this, we have to leverage the Selenium grid concept. Selenium grid will give that provision for you to run your test cases parallelly. Parallelly, when you start running test cases, automatically execution time will reduce. Execution time will reduce. So that's the main concept of the Selenium grid. Okay, so you can run parallel execution. You can achieve with the Selenium grid. You can reduce the execution speed, execution time, not speed. Execution time you can reduce. So in order to achieve all this, you can use Selenium grid for scaling up on different operating system browser combination if you want to run them parallel. So that's a Selenium grid concept. So multi-tab testing. So if you want to test your application and opening multiple tabs, so Selenium 3, it was a bit difficult task, right? One tab, which tab you want to go, we don't know. So in order to handle that, first, you have to store the current window handle in one of the variable, and then go to the new window, store it in the second variable. After that, use that switch to method to switch between both the windows as per your need. So that's how you can handle the multi-tab testing. For example, I have here so many windows, right? So in order to go to all these windows, so if you want to go to Ramesh Q automation platform, here almost there is a 5 tabs opened. How can you go? First, your cursor will be here. And how can you switch to here? So you have to get all these window IDs. Each tab is one separate window. Each tab is one separate window. So if you want to go to desired window, you need to grab all those IDs and then you switch to a required window. That's a switch to method you have to use to handle this multi-tab testing. Okay. Limited reporting. So as already mentioned, Selenium doesn't have a inbuilt reporting capability. You have to depend on third-party tools like TestNG or Extend reports, Allure reports. You have to depend on other reports. So you have to integrate them in Selenium. So that you can integrate, but inbuilt reporting capability is missing in Selenium. So limited capture handling. So you don't have option to handle the captures. I hope you know captures, right?
Yeah, Ramesh.
Yeah. So
the web forms.
Yeah, right. So you cannot handle the captures completely with Selenium. That's not possible. Guess that's another limitation.
So when we are automating those forms, then how does it work then?
So then you have to use, connect to some database and get that captcha value and do that. Then you will get into variable, and that variable value you can type it. So there is a direct provision you don't have in Selenium.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So it supports only web-based applications. It doesn't support Windows-based applications. So these are all the limitations and so drawbacks. Let's write a quick right. So test script, a simple test script, and we can do that. So even simple. I'll take a Maven project. Okay, Maven project. So let me explain what is Maven. so that we can use that Maven. That's easy instead of all adding the jars in the project, downloading the jars and everything. That's a hectic. In order to avoid that, so we will do a simple Maven. Another 5 minutes, I'll just give you. So what is Maven? So let me give you Maven. So Maven is a build tool. What is Maven? Maven is a build tool, and this Maven so will automatically build your project. So Maven is a build tool, and it generates the source code, and it takes care of entire project building. So it will generate the documentation from source code. It will compile the source code. This is the main purpose. So if you have a lot of files, so normal project, if you create, it won't compile. But so Maven project or Gradle project, these are the two different build tools. So it compiles the source code, and also the code will be compiled into a jar file or zip file. So install the packaged code in local repository, server repository, and central repository. Required jar files will be downloaded by build tool. So this is another majorly used concept. So generally, you have to download the dependencies and you have to add to the project. You don't need to do that if you are using a Maven project. Just add the dependency in the form.xml. Form.xml is the main crucial so in Maven project. So let's go and do see that directly. I'll show you. When you create a Maven project, you will get a direct structure. The structure is this is the one. See, src main Java you will get directly. Then after that src main Java, src test Java. So you will get src test Java, src main Java. So and also src main resources will be there. src test resources also will be there. One more resource folder also. So what this predefined structure you will get, and major important one is pom.xml. So in the pom.xml, first project information will be there. So your project details, project name, everything will be there. And then this is the one group ID. So tags, all XML tags. Okay, a pom.xml means XML tags. So artifact ID, version. This is the project information. And then properties information will be there. Then there is a dependencies section. There you will define all the dependencies. There you will define all the dependencies. So, and then build section, another important section will be there in the pom.xml. So the heart of Maven project is pom.xml. And also you will get a src main Java, src test Java. So src main Java inside, generally developers will write their own code. And src test Java used by testers to write their test cases. And pom.xml, there are 4 sections: a project section, properties section, dependencies section. So dependencies below all your softwares you will mention, just declare, automatically it will download those dependencies. Then we have a build section. There is a build section. These are the 4 sections will be there in pom.xml. So dependencies section, you will specify the dependencies. Build section, okay, you will specify the compiler, surefire report to run your test cases, and also you will mention your testing.xml also to run your test cases. So that's the pom.xml is the heart of your Maven project. So you can have a lot of comments. So if you right click, you can see Maven. So you can see, you can update the Maven project if you get any issues, and also you can run with a So mvn clean, mvn install, you can use those commands. mvn test. So those commands you can use. So I'll show you that. So let's create. Once you join back, we'll create a Maven project, and then I'll show you first a Selenium test case we'll write. Okay. Let's join back.